The Norse lands are finally thawing after a century of supernatural winter, revealing a world cracked open and crawling with mythic horrors. Viking clans are returning to reclaim their homeland, armed with steel, fury, and the mysterious dark stone that pulses with dangerous power. Every expedition pushes deeper into frozen forests and alien worlds, where trolls, frost giants, and ancient machines wait in the shadows. Today, we're cracking open Gates of Valhalla to see exactly what tools, heroes, and terrors await. So a big thank you to Scott and the Flying Frog Productions team for giving us this review copy at Gen Con so that we can show it to you. Gates of Valhalla builds upon the Shadows of Brimstone engine, and what I like about this is that the characters are fully interchangeable. So you could be having Vikings teaming up with Spanish conquistadors, suddenly meet some cowboys, or maybe even cross paths with some samurai. That is, if you're lucky enough to get your hands on that expansion. The game is for up to 4 players, up to 6 if you combine expansions or additional hero packs. Probably teenager, 15 and above, or the age range that you're going to want because of the complexity of the games and the rules. And when my group of 4 played it, we took about 2 hours to get through a single scenario. And of course, that's the beauty of it. Your equipment and your character's experience persist from scenario to the next. I can't wait any longer. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside. So here is the box, and let's just take a quick moment to show how the box immediately sort of gets you into character and kind of sets the scene. Now, I will say, when we visited the Flying Frog Productions booth, they had some of the miniatures, I'm going to say, expertly painted. And it just really made the characters, the miniatures, the figurines, really come to life. What a difference it made. All right. And here we are. So, the first thing that I'm going to talk about are these miniatures. And when we had done Valley of the Serpent Kings, I had my group we were all set. They were going to come over. We were going to play through the game. And it was just a couple days before, and I thought to myself, I'm going to pull out the rule book so I can start learning the rules and stuff like that, because it'd be good to have somebody that can help guide the group. What I was not expecting were these miniatures, and just how complex they are, but through that complexity is where you get the detail. You know, a lot of games that I was used to have, your single person or whatever, and it's all just one piece, and it's already there for you. What I've noticed in these is you have multiple pieces to put together. And that's the big difference. So then I was frantically trying to glue the pieces together. And again, my first experience, so I'm sure that they could have looked better. But what you get are these parts and pieces that are larger than your normal ones, have more detail. And so they really lend themselves, if you're an artist, to be able to paint these miniatures and bring them to life, really. But I just want everybody to be aware that there is some assembly required with these miniatures, so that you're not caught off guard like I was the first time. And of course, now that I know, I fully expect it. And like I said, if you can just kind of see what all is in there, like these are great. And just the size of it. So when they're on your game board, I mean, it just really looks impressive, because you're not talking about like a 1-inch tall figurine. I mean, shoot, some of these, just their arm is, 1 inch tall, let alone the rest of the, I mean, when you put it together, I just can't go on enough about, the parts and pieces. And then again, because of that, the detail that you can get on these, when you expand the size, is just, yeah. So these are the size of things that I was expecting the whole Well, that's just what I was used to. But yeah, you're gonna love it when you get into it. But it does take some time for assembly, and as the instructions here say, you're gonna need some clippers and some plastic cement or super glue or whatever. Plastic cement is probably what you're really supposed to use, and of course I used whatever I had around the house. But yeah, so you can just see what these, when they're fully assembled, what they're supposed to look like. Yeah, just amazing. And so now imagine these in color, and you can look at some of our Gen Con footage and stuff like that. Some of the other videos where we show the parts and pieces, and especially when we interview Scott, you can see the color and just how much it brings things to life. All right, continuing on, you've got your adventure book, and this is what sets. I mean, it's got some rules in it, but it also sort of sets the scenarios. Because usually it's, like the whole campaign is like a series of, maybe 10 scenarios or whatever, that are meant to be played one at a time. And then, your characters will gain experience, they'll gain equipment, level up, and then that persists into the next scenario. Which is why from our first game, some of my group of 4 were already asking about coming back because they want to take another crack at it. They want, we did okay in our first time through, so they want to see, and I guess that's the good thing. It wasn't impossible, but it wasn't easy either. It was a good mix to where, nobody really knew how it was actually going to turn out. So you've got your rule book, which tells you about the parts and pieces. And if you're used to the Shadows of Brimstone sort of engine, a lot of things will be similar. So there's not as much of a learning curve going from one set to the next. But there are some Viking specific rules that are different from, say, the Conquistadors, just because how they interact. All right, so I guess the first thing, or the next thing that I will show you, I'm getting ahead of myself here. You've got some of your spaces, if you will, and it also sort of helps with your, they try to put in a lot of guides to help you keep track of how the game flows, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so some of these events that might not be at every turn, but might be certain triggers. They put in these little guides to help you keep track of that. So as you're going, you can easily reference back to them, and I think that's a good idea because having to go back to the rule book and look it up and actually find things definitely slows. Or can slow the game down. So a lot of reference cards here. And then you just got to keep track of where you've put everything. And I've got a pretty good sized table, and if there's 4 of us playing, we could need more. We had to bring on a little bit extra for the parts and pieces that actually aren't in play. All right, so, and again, these are to help you when you come up against certain enemies and stuff like that. It's to help you remember how the enemies behave in combat and their stats and things of that nature. And you've got your normal side, and you've got your brutal side, and my group, we're not ready for the brutal side of things yet, but if you're very experienced or if you're high level, then perhaps that gives you more of a challenge. So you've got your, and these are the things that I always enjoy, are the character cards, because it allows you to become sort of that character. And when we did Valley of the Serpent Kings, I mean, we fully tried to, take on the roles of our characters. You've got your Berserker, your Huskarl, your Jarl, and your Raider. And they are front and back. So it's the female version on one side and it's the male version on the other. So if you've got a mixed gaming group, you can be whatever you need to be, whatever you want to be, as far as those characters. Because the stats are the same. It's just it changes your sort of avatar picture. All right, more quick reference cards. It comes with tons of dice, which you definitely use, especially if you get 4 players. You're throwing dice left and right, and then it's got some additional dice, and sometimes these are used for like special abilities. So yeah, we use these quite a bit, or you will probably use those quite a bit in your game. And then we're getting down to the decks, which I'm going to have to cut open here. But what you're left when you take everything out are these big open cavities. And so, which definitely become important when you need to restore all these things back in there. You've got all these parts and pieces. And imagine now all these miniatures that are now 2 inches tall, 3 inches tall. You're going to want that space. Also, I should mention, take this plastic part out, because underneath it, it might be easy to miss, but you can't play the game without it. So this is where your map tiles are, all of your little tokens, your depth track, all of these things are down here at the bottom. And I'm going to cut this open. So we've got so much stuff to go through. I'm going to move some of this out of the way to clear us some space here. All right. So, again, we've got these tile pieces, and the map, never the same way twice. You put tiles on, it's kind of random in how the map assembles. So you just never know. You'll have all these parts and pieces, but the cards will sort of tell you how to assemble, which ones are dead ends, which ones connect to something else. So yeah, there's definite replayability. It definitely allows the different scenarios to feel fresh, because again, like, you may only use half of these. You might not even use half of these. And then one thing I will just point out, they're double-sided, because usually in these games there's portals to sort of otherworldly places. And so you may start off in the frozen wastelands, but you may get taken into a portal to somewhere totally different. So yeah, and then there's some specific things to the Vikings, but there if you played other ones, you'll notice that there are similarities as well, but just sort of thematically they're slightly different. All right. Yeah, just, it looks big and daunting, and it is, but once you've played through it, you realize that having all these options is really what gives you that depth of gameplay. And like I said, this is not a short game that you just break out when you want to do something quick. This is one that you are setting up for, and you're getting into the spirit of, and you know that you're going to be committing some time to. But on the flip side, you will be rewarded with a much deeper experience when you get into it. All right, and then lastly, we're going to look at just some of the cards here, and again, there are so many different options in this, and a lot of times, or at least we found, that you won't use all of these cards in a single game. There's options, different scenarios and things like that, different difficulty levels, so you can change the change the difficulty of the game based upon your group's experience, sort of what the group decides they want, how much of a challenge you want. So yeah, here we're looking at some of the loot cards. Love that. And that's the thing that, another one of the things that I really enjoy when you're looking at these things is the, when you add in, when you add in expansions, you gain the option of more characters, but you also gain the option of more loot variety, more gear variety from the different towns and stuff like that. And that is something that I like. That's something that I always appreciate when even like the little extra expansions or the gear packs or whatever, adding in those items that you can see in the stores now and stuff like that when you're playing through the scenario. So yeah, I'm going to try not to go, hopefully there's no spoilers in these. Sometimes there are some scenario specific cards and stuff, so I'm trying not to dwell too long on any one card. I find if I move my hand around, though, I'm also likely to knock the camera, so I'm going to try to not do that either. But yeah, as you can tell, there's so many different scenarios. There's just so much richness and depth to this. There we go. Sort of one of the things that I was mentioning earlier about that difficulty. You've got the epic difficulty, your high, your medium, your low, and it. In one particular game, you may actually use multiples of the different ones. So start off maybe low, and as you get to more advanced, or if there's penalties involved, sometimes when the depth tracker, when darkness starts to take over the land too much, things get harder as you go. So artifacts, which I'm very interested. Just take a little peek at, because again, these are the things that I'm always looking forward to coming across in the game. And knowing my luck, my character can either like never afford it or whatever, or I never get lucky enough to get the ones I want. You can look at our Fortune and Glory gameplay, and you'll see that my poor character was having to ride a lot of coattails. So. All right, so that is it as far as the parts and pieces inside Gates of Valhalla. So that is it for this unboxing of Gates of Valhalla. Again, a big thank you to Scott and the team at Flying Frog Productions for giving us this review copy at Gen Con. Thank you for trusting us with your product so that we can show it off to all of you. I'm very excited for this. We played the Conquistador one, so now I'm excited to have the group come back and give the Viking one a try. It's one that I was looking forward to. And of course, if I can ever get my hands on the Samurai one, we're going to try to do that. But I think they are out of print at the moment and maybe sold out. So maybe a little bit more difficult to get a hold of, but we'll keep looking. Hopefully you have liked this sort of content, and if you do, give us that thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to Unbox the Universe, please do so. It helps the channel to grow. And of course, ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future content that we put out. We've got a lot more Gen Con content coming your way, so check back and check back often. I think that's all I've got for you for this video. So until next time, happy gaming.
Hear the drum.